Call the work session for the City Commission for Wednesday, February 20th to order at 6:15. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Lyle Smith. Here. Commissioner O'Donnell is absent this evening. Mayor Holliday.
Here. So under discussion items, we have 19-140, Downtown Oregon City Association's 2019 Work Plan and 4-year Strategic Plan. Mr. Conkle.
Thank you, Mayor. So probably about 6 months ago, we started to have discussions. The Downtown Oregon City Association came in and made some presentations to the commission. Some of that related to their ongoing work plan, what they've been working on, where they think that they're heading in the future. A lot of this was driven by the change in how they're raising revenue to operate as an organization after the Economic Improvement District was closed down. One of the requests was for them to come back, for the organization to come back and give an update to the commission on where they're at and what their strategic plan looks like moving forward. And then potentially some discussion about, we've continued to invest in Downtown Oregon City as an organization through our budget process. And then to begin those conversations as well. And then presenting, the value that they bring to the community, downtown Oregon City as a whole, as it relates to economic development, tourism. So go ahead and invite representatives up tonight, whoever's going to present, and begin the work session.
Good evening.
So go ahead, name and city of residence for the record, please.
Zach Stokes, Oregon City.
Okay.
Liz Hannum, Portland.
Okay.
All right, thanks for having us tonight. We're excited to be here, excited to talk about the partnership that we've had with Oregon City and continued opportunities for partnership.
Oh, hang on one second. Just in case anybody doesn't know, if you have your cell phone, please either turn it off or silence it. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No worries. I'm the president of the board currently for the Downtown Oregon City Association. I've been involved with the board for 3 or 4 years now. I was the treasurer most recently and became the board president at the start of the year. I run a civil and structural engineering firm, and that we do a little bit of architecture also that's on Main Street. We employ about 20 employees. And I have a vested interest as a resident and a business person in making sure that the community that I live and work in is thriving and vibrant. And that's really my personal tie and association with Downtown Oregon City. We moved the business to Main Street about, 7 years ago, excuse me. And really what we were drawn to as an organization was a community that is active, evolving, and really a community in and of itself. I see Oregon City and downtown in particular as a little bit of an island of small town in the midst of the big metro. It has the best of both worlds. I'm kind of a small town guy. I'm from Klamath Falls, Oregon. And I really like the fact that I can walk down the street, shake people's hands, say hello. And that's a big thing for me. So that's a little bit about me. This is Liz. She's our interim executive director, and she's going to give you a little bit of a intro into what she's all about.
Yeah, so my name's Liz Hannum. I've been with DOCA since about May of last year, so just over a year. And I've been with Main Streets in different capacities, executive director, board member, those kinds of things for almost 6 years now. So I'm a huge Main Street fan. So I continue to be enamored with it, I think, and really excited to see what we can do with DOCA as well. So I just want to do a quick overview of what Main Street is for those of you who haven't been as invested and involved over the years. We are part of the National Main Street Network, Main Street America, with about 1,600 other Main Streets. We just won the Great American Main Street Award last year, which is the highest honor in our division, our industry, which is pretty exciting. But over the last 40 years, Main Street America has really done really pushed the 4-point approach. which I can talk more about if you're interested, but it's just really to make sure that everybody's taking a holistic approach to revitalizing the downtown. So we started about 10 years ago with the Oregon Main Street Network. It's about 40 other main streets. And I'll just kind of go over what we've done in the past. So in about 2009, most main streets go through kind of very typical stages of development. In 2009, we were really at, let's make this place pretty again. And so I feel like we've done a big chunk of that. Obviously, with old buildings and 100-year-old properties, that's an ongoing project that we're never going to complete. But we did a big chunk of it over the first 5 years of the organization. The second 5 years is really about building awareness, branding the district, and getting people downtown on a regular basis. And that's kind of what we've been doing over the last 5 years. And so from going forward for the next 5 years, we're really looking at active role in development work. So not only getting people downtown, but activating those public spaces, getting them to shop downtown and not just have dinner. So getting them to spend more time in our community. And then also working on the kind of issues like parking and our big development sites, and making sure that they're talking to each other and talking to us, and making sure that we really have a cohesive plan for downtown. And so our strategic plan, which I think you were given prior, our two big priorities going forward are building community and cultivating commerce. So a lot of the projects that we do going forward are going to be in those two veins. So I just wanted to give you a picture of what we have done over the past couple of years. We run a lot of events, which have been really successful and really bring a lot of people downtown on a regular basis. We celebrate businesses. The Best Of was one of our kind of best projects, I think, and it most talked about afterwards, where we celebrated Oregon City businesses together. And we have a plan to do that again in the next year. And then we do kind of educational workshops for businesses downtown, networking groups, so that they can learn from each other, and then just fun facade programs and things like that. So we want to talk to you a little bit about formalizing this partnership going forward. So I looked back at some numbers, which I know is really important to cities and how they invest their dollars. And with the $60,000 that was invested in us last year, we directly returned about $15.50. So as a direct result of our programming, between grants and spending at events and efforts with our volunteers, we of the $60,000, we returned about $950,000 to the community, which is about $1 to $15. So every dollar that you put into us, 15 of it went back into the community, which I feel like is a really good return on your investment. So let me see here if I got everything. Yes. So the last thing on this slide is when we first started our partnership, that has been pretty informal, we were at a much higher percentage of our budget was city funding. Right now in 2018, we're at about 12% of our budget is city funding. And while that's gone down significantly, but it's still a huge part of what we do, and vital for our organizational health going forward. So I wanted to kind of put into context where Oregon City lies with the last 5 years of the other Great American Main Street Award winner communities. And what's really cool, I think, is that with the dollars that we get from city general funds, we're in the same category and doing the same kind of work that places that are getting hundreds of thousands of dollars are doing. So we're putting your money to good use, I think. So it's pretty exciting to see And in calling around to see what these other organizations are doing, they all are creating kind of formal partnerships with their city, and they suggested going forward doing that. A lot of them have specific deliverables that are tied to city funding that I think would be really a good way to go forward. And if the city would like to continue to invest in us, then we would love to formalize and set some of those expectations so that we can either hit them or exceed them. So that's kind of where we'd like to go forward.
Now it's my turn to talk about the next step. Liz kind of hit you with a bunch of numbers. We think that organizationally, our partnership with the city is lucrative for everybody, really, for the community as a whole. But there's a lot more work to do. We recognize that the original agreement with the city wasn't formal and that maybe it was supposed to sunset at some point. I'm not saying that it can't or shouldn't, but currently there's a lot of stuff to do. And we are still counting on contributions from the city to be able to do what we would like to. We'd like to continue to expand our programming. This year in particular, we're adding smaller events downtown to increase the community. We're doing a spirits walk, which will do the same thing. We've been working with the city on a new elevator kiosk that was funded through a Metro Enhancement Grant. Our partnership, I think, goes a lot deeper than just monetary back and forth, but really gets to what do we have to offer as somebody that's facilitating developing the community in the downtown core. We have a lot of ongoing projects, the Clean Team, we'd like to expand that. I don't know right now that I can say that we will for sure, but it's certainly something that we would like to do. Same with the street trees. We're working on business recruitment and development, and all the while maintaining the other programming that we've put in place, like the First City Celebration and the 5K, to bring people and get them excited about downtown Oregon City. As Liz mentioned, we are really enacting our strategic plan that we just put together at the end of last year. The big focuses are cultivating commerce and building community. We want to get people downtown. It needs to be a vibrant community because of and alongside the fact that there's challenges that are upcoming for that small portion of the city. The future of the courthouse is in question.
No, it's not. It's moving.
Yeah.
There we go.
The timeline's questionable.
The future is,
When the courthouse will be moving. Thank you. And the fact that the mill site is going to be developed. From my perspective as a downtown business person and a proponent of DOCA, is that it would be an organizational failure if over the next 5 years, those two things happen, develop, and there isn't a body that's interested in building the community so that they're a vital part of what's existing, not an appendage that grows independent of what we already have and know and love. When I talk about building commerce or cultivating commerce, excuse me, I think that by having more retail establishments and having more of continuing to increase the vibrancy of the downtown core, we're going to create a community that is naturally going to grow with the mill and with the courthouse as those changes occur. And I think it's really vital that there's somebody there to be the voice that talks to local government, the county, the individual developers, and is really keeping tabs on making sure that downtown is a place that we all want to come to. Currently, along those lines, we're working with the county to hopefully increase the amount of programming that we do in Liberty Plaza, get more people downtown at different hours, and through that also get people into businesses and cultivate commerce, so that we're really working the solution from the 4-point approach and developing something continuing to develop something that's not done yet. We've come a long ways, but there's still a lot of work to do. I think that's about all I've got.
Yeah, I think I would just add in the building community side is we're really actively working towards building better relationships and better partnerships with other organizations, including the city and the county for Liberty Plaza. We're starting to work with the Three Rivers Art Guild. We've got kind of a marketing campaign that's going to hype the 175th anniversary with the city tourism group. So we're really trying to be more active in that bringing people together, the facilitation role in the build community side. So we're kind of trying to work to expand outside of just downtown by increasing our reach that way.
As Mr. Conkle mentioned, historically, the city over the last couple of years has provided the organization with $60,000. We would love it if the community would be interested, or the city would be interested in continuing to support DOCA in that role, and really formalizing it so that we know that we're meeting your expectations and you know what the expectation is. We want to be able to deliver, and we want to be a good partner. And working through what that looks like is one of the reasons that we're here to talk to you tonight.
Commissioner Smith? Everything?
No, thank you.
Oh, you were taking notes. I figured you were asking questions.
No, I don't really have a question. But I guess I would share, I'm sure this will come to us at a regular meeting. I kind of feel the same way in the sense that there's so many times in Oregon City where we have added things only to have them go away right at the crucial moment that we need them. And I am kind of, thinking about that in the downtown sense as well. It's like, I've seen downtown kind of come and fall back again and go back and forth a couple times in my life. And we don't want to see that happen again right at the cusp of giant projects coming to Oregon City. So I think that's something we all need to keep in mind, is how we make sure that these things keep growing and we don't take a step backwards as we have in the past.
I have 2 questions. One, can you describe your association membership on how much the makeup of your membership? Is it, for example, 75% business owners or residents that live downtown, and how many people are part or supportive of your organization that actually live outside of downtown?
Yeah, so we are not a member-based organization. So we're a 501c3, not a 6. So we do have a Friends program, which right now is primarily downtown businesses, and then property owners as well in the downtown. There's a few individuals, but we haven't really done much of an effort in that fundraising capacity.
Taking it from there a little bit, the failure of the EID last year set us back. Honestly, that's
The failure of what?
the Economic Improvement District.
Okay.
That was a large part of our funding, and the fact that it wasn't renewed is a challenge, to be honest. We are learning from the fact that it didn't pass, trying to improve on the things that led to that, and I think that we're making good progress. But as part of that, we really have needed to look at diversifying, and we're in the middle of really kicking off a fundraising campaign to develop more members. Before we started down that path, we wanted to make sure that we had a strategic plan that as an organization we were really behind and could adequately express, because that's a really big part of convincing people, you included, that we're worth it.
Okay. Yeah, and the reason I ask is I'm thinking of, how do we keep folks that aren't downtown interested in coming downtown, whether it's outreach and marketing and input. There's a lot of people that live on top of the hill. I'm one of them. And it's not very far, but my husband and I, we sit home and we say, well, where are we going for dinner tonight? And do we go down the hill and have dinner, or do we stay up on top of the hill? And so, I don't know, I think it's good to get input from others that can help contribute to your direction and where you're, and give, and just provide guidance wherever you need it, or input. I know we struggle to get input from the public everywhere, but you know, if you're open to input from others, I think it would be a good direction to head.
Certainly.
I think that's part of our strategy in rolling out this membership or
Right.
Friends of campaign,
Right.
Is really meeting face to face with some of the businesses that are up on the hill, and then individuals as well, and visiting with neighborhood associations. So I've already done a couple of presentations to different neighborhood associations. So trying to really kind of reach out, and not just expect them to come to us.
Right.
So, yeah, it's an active, in progress.
Yeah. So my second question, maybe a little more directed to Tony, Mr. Conkle. The formal agreement that, or informal agreement that keeps getting brought up multiple times. I kept waiting on you to get around to your actual ask for more money and a formal agreement. Has there been discussion about doing an IGA with this group? Is there a reason why it hasn't come about yet? Would that, I assume that would make them feel a little bit more comfortable to have some long-term or longevity to our commitment to DOGA.
So I think, part of this is, so looking back, when the organization was created, we created an intergovernmental agreement to kind of get it started, get an executive director on board. That relationship was working very well. And so we didn't feel the need at that point to create another IGA. We were comfortable with the work that was being done, the relationship that existed, and then we continued to budget and appropriate funds for the organization. So, as time has gone on, there's been some discussions about, how long are we going to continue to invest? I think that there's a good, probably a conversation that needs to happen around that. And so one of the ideas was, well, from the staff's point of view, we have a very good working relationship. We see a lot of the value being brought to downtown, whether it's through clean team, events, marketing, tourism, advertising, renting up space. We just have a very good working relationship, so that we had this discussion of, well, whether it's 60,000, 80,000 in an IGA, we felt like we could certainly show that the investment is returning much more than what we're putting in. And so that's where these conversations started again about, should we formalize this or continue the way that we've been working? And I guess I was getting the feeling like I probably wanted to formalize it a little bit for everybody's comfort level. And, I don't see an issue with being able to document, because I truly believe we get much more value back than what we invest in the organization.
And maybe we'll circle back to this when we start talking about the budget, but I was feeling like you guys were kind of asking for that, even though, maybe it was telepathically or something, it just kept coming up, so maybe you haven't formally asked, but that's the way I interpreted you continuing to mention it.
I think that tonight really is about getting in front of you and telling you what we're all about. There's new commissioners, and we're new faces, honestly. We're different faces than were up here 6 months or so ago when Mr. Conkle noted that we were here last, and we have a new strategic plan in place. We would certainly like to formalize whatever we have moving forward with the city for both of our benefits. But as part of that, it was really bringing you guys up to speed with where we're at as an organization, and making sure that as new commissioners are on board, that everybody's aware of who we are, what we're doing, and really what our goal is.
So, first of all, I want to say that, I'm very impressed with the work DOCA has done over the last 10 years. Certainly DOCA can't take credit for everything that's happened in downtown Oregon City, but it's certainly been a catalyst for the good work that's been done. But it may come as a surprise to you two, but it won't come as a surprise to most people that I hold this position that giving taxpayer money to private organizations should be a Kickstarter or a short-term investment, not a long-term process over many, many years. So that's a discussion that we're going to have as a commission when we get finally all five of us are up here and able to have that discussion when we go into the budget hearings. I'm not saying I'm one way or another. I'm open to having a discussion about it, but you know, it's hard for me to justify giving money to DOCA, and we don't support the chamber, we don't support the OCBA, we don't support the Lions, we don't support the Kiwanis, you know, the Elks. It goes on and on. So we need to have, and I think we're working on this. Am I not right? We're working on a policy about the city providing money to private organizations.
Correct.
Yeah. So as we work on that policy, that part of that discussion will still come up, but not to denigrate any of the work that DOCA's done and the work that DOCA may do in the future. Personally, what I would like to see is I would like to see DOCA and the OCBA and the chamber get together and work on a citywide plan rather than you focusing on just downtown and the chamber kind of not focusing at all right now. And OCBA is more of a political / educational organization. So I think all of you have components that if you put it all together, could work much better.
Yeah, and I think the other GAMSA winners communities that I talked to, they really, I think they look at the investment from the city as more of a contract than just a regular investment. And so that's what the deliverables were, their suggestions moving forward were make it a contract with deliverables so that it's a no questions asked kind of investment.
But many of those organizations also are not necessarily private, but part of the city itself.
Some of them, I think.
Yeah.
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 Probably.
Okay. Anything else from Mr. Manager?
I guess just a little bit of clarification. Is this something where you would like us to work with the organization on identifying, you know, an IGA or a contract?
I don't think I'm comfortable with that until we get the commissions full again and we can have a discussion about it.
No, I agree. I think we can circle back to it, because you bring up really good points, Mr. Mayor, about, there's plenty of other 501c3s that come and ask for support and input. Obviously, the downtown organization is a little bit different of a character, I think. But yeah, I think we can return to this conversation. But you're right, Liz. I mean, if we did an IGA, I would want deliverables. I want to know what is then DOCA guaranteeing? What are they providing to the city in return for the money? It wouldn't be, I don't think it would be just this invest as you like, and we're going to trust you to have a return on our investment. So I think if you do formalize it, we would want some deliverables listed out for sure. So maybe if you want to think about that, if we ever get to that point, what is it that DOCA would come up and propose to us that we should be considering as,
I took a lot of notes in my phone calls, so
Yeah.
I've got a lot of
And
ideas.
I think the other point that I would like to make is that downtown doesn't end at 12th and Main Street.
Right.
And so, it's going to extend in the future, hopefully in the near future, all the way to, the new apartments down behind the shopping center and around the corner and down Washington Street, all the way out to what hopefully will be a new development at the Rossman landfill site. So I don't want us to think about, downtown Oregon City as those 8 or 10 blocks. It really is everything on the river level below the bluff.
Certainly.
Okay, is that it?
Yep.
All right, then we're adjourned till 7.
Thank you.